a number of years until quite recently. He was one of our external examiners, and it was great to have had him as an external examiner. He is someone who has an incredibly acute and critical mind, and what is very important is that in many respects his projects that he has developed over the last 30 years with his partner Jos Antonio Martnez Lapea as Elas Torres in Barcelona have really been extremely influential in terms of the transformation of contemporary Spanish architecture, but in a sense even more importantly that many of the projects are often thought of within an urban context, and so even the very small scale projects have this strong urban dimension to them. It's interesting that we had Peter Merkley here last week, and I mentioned in the introduction to Peter Merkley's that Peter, even though he's based in Switzerland, he's often thinking about the culture of the Mediterranean and in some sense wishing to be operating as a Mediterranean architect in the context of Switzerland. And in some ways, I think Elias is really doing that with his projects that range from individual projects, single buildings, to landscape projects. And also, I think a very important dimension of the practice's work has been the manner in which the practice has dealt with issues of conservation and the building new in relation to existing conditions, which I think characterizes the work of that practice very differently from so many other people who've dealt with aspects of conservation. Because I think in many of those projects, the existing buildings have been used as a kind of armature in relation to which then new building has been done. And I think many of those examples are really wonderful demonstrations of the way contemporary architecture can work in the context of the existing. In addition to the practice's work, Elias has also for many, many years been a professor, a teacher at Barcelona, at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard, where he's actually teaching this semester, and in many other schools. He has written a great deal on contemporary architecture and the history of architecture, and the work of their practice was also nominated for the Mies van der Rohe Prize fairly recently. Please welcome Elas Torres.
Thank you, Moise. Good evening. Well, about an external examinator, I remember that someone told me that we were the exterminators. Is that true? And tonight I'm going to show some of the last works we have done in the office. It means I'm going to start with something that is not urban, contextual, it's just outside. And I will show you four works that have been built, and if we have time, I will show you four projects. And because those are, if I see those are the last project. When I'm saying last, they are from the last 2 years. I would say 2 years and a half. Because the other things, when you see and repeat yourself in front of a screen, you get tired of yourself explaining things that you have already forgotten in the office.
Sorry to interrupt you, but can I just please ask everyone to switch off your mobile phones? I have to do this.
Can we start with the slides? That's first. Okay, you can finish. Those are two projects that we did. This one and the next one are two projects that we did in Japan. We have been working there a few times. We have done 5 projects, and we are very happy about the results, even if we haven't been there, because I think it's been very successful for us. Because from faxes sent from Barcelona to a built building at the end, I think it's almost a miracle. And it's the way how our friends in Japan treat us. And those are two projects in Toyama, in the North sea, well, let's say in the north coast of the other side of Tokyo Bay, and it's close to the Toyama Prefecture. And this is a program called Machinokao, who means the face of the city, and it's being run by Shuichi Fujie, who is the head of the office of Arata Isozaki, and he organized this program between local cities and local government of the province, and trying to feed, well, to raise some money to produce small projects. Many people have been working this program. The first thing we did was with Arata Isozaki in the Expo of Osaka, and that's many friends were there. And this is another program with the same system. This is the city of New Zen, which a very flat, it's a plain filled up with rice fields. This is a postcard where you can see the cypresses that, this is a springtime where the water fills up the rice fields. And then the cypresses are organized in the gardens of the houses, the cemeteries, and well, and it's a very changeable landscape where sometimes there's a frozen water, sometimes you have grass. And we were asked to design for this is an electrical power turbine where the plane changes for the first time towards the mountains in this level. There is a move from here to here of 10 meters, no, well, probably a little bit more, or 12. And this is now, it was given to the city. It's now a museum called Nidzayama. And we were asked to design a sculpture garden here on top of one of the grass fields. And, sorry. Then well, we start by the project here, where to have the entrances around here, and we were also asked to design a little pavilion and the roof of an stair. The next one, please. This is what you see around Japan. Many land has been kept secure with those nets of concrete that they look like a very weird and a strange object. And we start to, I don't know why there is a relation, but at least we start to design these enclosures of sculptures. Imagine that every sculpture that goes there to have an exhibition, they give a sculpture to the museum, and then those sculptures will be the pieces to be shown in this garden. If you can imagine 30 different sculptures which giving one piece and put the pieces together, what will happen? That's why we decide to organize enclosures where every sculpture will be inside of a cypresses hedge floating on top of water, the sculptures, and then you can have a path where you can look through those windows. Nothing of this happened. I mean, it's been stopped. There were the money ran off. I don't know, one of those problems that normally happens in the construction. But also they were afraid about the water, because we wanted the frozen water. We wanted water in the spring. We wanted garage in the. I mean, just to keep the rice field happening at the same time as the sculptures. Next, please. This is the. Sorry, but this is the. This is again the sculpture garden. Well, there is one wall built of cedars. Cedar. Well, this is the pavilion, the entrance pavilion that was able to to hang flags, to help the entrance towards the garden, and also to help the path towards the museum. And because it's so flat land, from very far away you could see this object from kilometers away. Next, please. Well, this is the final drawing, without water, without anything, and it became this strange thing. They built this thing. That's the only fragment. And then the pavilion came built. We sent all the information, and we arrived there one day to cut the ribbon and have the opening. That's all our participation in the project. This is not our normal way to to well, to follow the construction. We normally are there every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, or every 2 days, depending on the distance. But normally we finish the project during construction, because normally a project is not finished until that you sign the final paper and say that the clients can use it the day after. And then this is nail. It's here. Let's see the next one. Well, this is the path. This is just a box that encloses a water pump for some of the rice fields here. Next, please. There is not. It's just at the end. This is the building that was being remodeled by another team. And this is, at the end, we find the stair that was already there. I mean, this is a stair that we only organized the roof. Next, please. And you can still having the pipes of the turbine. And, well, the structure was very light when we sent it to Japan by fax, but because of typhoons, and it starts to grow and grow, and it became a little more stronger than what we were supposed to find at the end. But the stair has a roof that it has an inclination to allow to see the beautiful cider wood next to it. And next, and at the end, well, this is the way how you can see it from the trees. And the roof, it doesn't have any specific gesture. It's just the following of every movement that has the stair. Just sometimes those things doesn't need to be forced. They happen exactly just by chance. Next. There is this strange Issei Miyake thing. Next, please. And you can see, well, it's not, but we have nothing to do with this thing, but anyway, it's just, I think, at the end they feed together. Next, please. This is another project in Toyama Prefecture, but in the mountains. It's only 400 meters high from the sea level, and it's a village, it's a World Heritage. It's a village of gashos, which is this kind of, it's been protected by the UNESCO, and they protect not only the buildings, but the families and the people who lives and works there. And this is the village. There are 2 or 3 of those villages. But then it has very specific future. It's 400 meters above sea level, but it snows between 3 and 4 meters, because the Siberian cold comes straight to the Toyama Bay. We were asked to design here. There is a cliff, well, excuse me, a little hill here with a little tunnel, and there is a freeway with a huge bridge here, a road that comes, I think this is the road, excuse me, and we were asked to design the reception center for visitors. The first question was, it should be a hidden building. It should be something that nobody should really be disturbed by, because we want people to enter to this center to have the information about the life of this community, about the architecture, the folklore, and the buildings themselves. And there was inside a lot of information. It's supposed to happen inside a lot of information of how they build those gashos, which is a very, very special Japanese architecture. And we were asked to work on this is on a slope that goes from 20 to 0 meters, and using one next please, one rice field. This is the way how the gashos stay on top of these base of river stones. This is a picture of the treatment of the river stones in Tokyo. I mean, the distance produces strange effects, a little more Dali, surrealistic way of interpretation. Next, please. We finally decide to have, because the building is this. I mean, it's a completely hidden building. Well, hidden, no, it just doesn't have windows. There is an entrance, there is a corridor where you have a lot of information in window cases, and in the middle there is a model of a gasho, a scale 150, I think, and the ceiling follows a little bit what's inside. I mean, this is a kind of an slopey roof, but we wanted the wall to have this quality. I don't know if it's quality, but at least this sound of the stones that were on the base of these buildings. This is a model made out of pistachio. Next. Well, it's okay. Well, here there is the office, the equipment. There is next door there is a gasho, one of the new houses, where you can, after visiting, well, and having the explanations with videos, with everything, there is with all the media, you take a ramp and you arrive to this new gasho which has been landed here, where you can visit, and then in that way you have the people with entertained for at least 2 hours, and then they can visit the gashos, the real village, just only 2 times a day. That way people can stay a little more safe from the visitors. Next. This is the result, and it's very strange. Believe me, we also think that it's a very strange view. We went to see this once at least. We were the chance to select some tiles and we were quite. Anyway, there is a huge parking lot. I mean, it's not everything so sophisticated. I mean, there is a lot of very intense. You can see here the columns of the bridge of the freeway that then crosses through tunnels the mountains. And this is the ramp, and this is again the ramp towards the new gasho. Next, please. Wow. There is one skylight. Next. I mean, there is next. This is a fence made out of poles, but as you can imagine, it's the only way to find out where is the building when there are 4 meters of snow, and then you can follow the road. It's here. It means that way you don't feed the building with a cart. Even there are 2 big beams from one gasho that you can turn them, and if they are closed like this, they say that it's closed. When they are open like this, it shows that it's open. Next, please. Just well, you can see it here. It's open. Next, please. This is under construction. You can see the other side of this beautiful landscape, and even it's really fantastic. Well, on the other hand, they were very happy. I think Fujia was saying, this is very Gaudi, and I was saying, no, this is very Japanese, and I think we haven't agreed. The end. Which one? All this, it looks like the disease that hasn't finally entered the house with those strange verbs on top. Next, please. Because we wanted the stones to be cast in the concrete, but at the end they were nailed. That means it's just. Well, those are windows that are only used for smoke. It means it's just they are normally closed, but the photographer wanted more action here and just. Next, please. Well, you can see here there are some lights from the toilet for the toilets. And next, please. That's the final result. You don't see the building when it snows. Next, inside. And so, well, every object was designed on a specific case. There were the text, the way how you can open it, and then the glass itself, and every shape was following a different pattern, because we wanted just to have every object in a very specific way, because I think it makes them it doesn't, well, I think it's better. Next. You can see a fragment of the real roof. The skylight that we were, the only light that comes inside is through the skylight that just jumps to light inside of the corridor, and then the model where the roof is blue, everything floats. I mean, it's a very strange atmosphere that we finally control. Next, I think we were. Well, this is another project. This is Barcelona, and this is a very urban context. That's a work that has been in our office for 6 years. The construction has been 4 years. I'll tell you why. Because this is this house. This is I don't know if you know Barcelona, but the main crossing of the Cardus and the Decumanus in the Roman city still being the center of the city, just where the city hall and the governor of the local government of Catalunya stays. I mean, it's very active, and it's something that hasn't changed at all from centuries. And this is inside of the Roman Quarter, and this is the oldest house in a catalog of houses in Barcelona shows everything that is being protected, and this is the oldest one that stays up. This is a fragment probably of a bigger palace from starts in 9th century. We find remains of 6th century. We didn't went lower or down because we were afraid to find the Roman city was 3 meters below ground, and we only went 1.5 meters just to have the elevator shaft just there. And we find a lot of things that went to the museum. But this is the streets are very narrow. This is the old Jewish quarter, and it's the street is 1.70 meters right here. This is to the 30th, I think. And that's a private client that bought the house, and the last thing that was happening in that house was a brothel, because it happens to be 20 years ago. And this client wanted to, design his house inside and protect the building, try to recover things, try to make this place alive again, just like to transfuse blood to a building. It's just what you do when you take one of those old and very significant buildings, even if it's not a great palace. It just has the facades and the space in between ceilings was the most important thing. But because the fragment of the courtyard of the palace that was completely filled when we find it with ceilings, and we demolish everything, and the client said, well, because this is the lowest building of the whole area, if I can build a little penthouse, it's only 9 square meters, but at least from the top of this little studio he can see the cathedral, and that's, at least was the reason to be there. He can see the cathedral, he can see the ocean, he can see Christophorus Columbus, Montjuic, all the places. I mean, that was one of the reasons. And finally the city said yes. Next. This is we haven't changed almost anything. There are some little holes here. As you have seen, the new addition crosses on a 45-degree angles in order to avoid to increase the facade on this side and make even darker the street. And that's why you don't see, this is already the house finish, and the studio runs from in that direction. This is the street, and the main entrance it's here, and the two main pieces are second and third level, because it's a very complicated work, because the workers were not allowed to bring the contractor with his materials after 7 o'clock. No big trucks, nothing. It was almost everything by hand, and it's been a project that has been changing many times during the construction. Next. Well, it's very simple. You enter by the street. This is the 1.7 street, and then you enter. You have a guest room. This is the courtyard that we open it again. You have the main stair, which used to be a main stair in all those palaces. If you go to most of the Renaissance and Baroque palaces in Catalonia, they have the same structure. Even in Naples or in Italy, you will find things similar. They have a stair in the courtyard, and they arrive to the main, on the first floor, where is the main, are the main rooms. Well, probably the palace was as big as this, and only what remained was this thing. There is an elevator because you need 9 levels at the end to cross. Every level, it's the old ones are 4.5 or 4.7, and that you need a stair that goes. There isn't a stair. No, the stair starts the second floor here, and it goes up until the top. And when you arrive from here to here, elevator again, stair, master bedroom, bathroom, dining room, kitchen, again the stair, and then the stair, because there is a terrace in the next floor, the stair needs to move inside here and arrive to the living room, and then that's the last stop of the elevator. This is a terrace. During construction there was a window here, but then the neighbor opened it, not legally, but and finally, to avoid any conflict, the client bought the room. And we need to organize a new stair and another level, and this is another room. And then on the top there is this next. And then, it's okay, I think it works. It's upside down. But that's, this is the little studio, and on top you have the terrace, and this is why you have different levels. Every two, here there is another level, another. Next. This is when you enter the entrance from the street. This is the arch of the. Well, the house runs from 6th century, what we have found, until 15th century, 18 and 19. And now this is the 20th century edition. And this is the courtyard, and then this is the new stair where we didn't want to. Next, we'll see. This is the guest room with fragments that he wanted constantly to be seen. I mean, this is always a conflict between. In general, when people see stones, they are getting very excited. I don't know why. We prefer imagine that this will be stone, rough stone. But this is at the end we finished to design things to introduce new. Well, this is the elevator. We redesign arches. There is a lot of things that were not there before, but at least it looks that they have been there always. The stair is just a kind of just a corten steel that, let's call, floats as much as it could in the courtyard to avoid any very too solid presence or too overwhelming. And next. Trying to, well, there is a net, because the only important thing on a stair is where you put horizontally your foot and where you put your hand. I mean, there is between this and this you can do thousands of things. I mean, there's just only an element that follows your hand and another one that follows your horizontal position of the feet. Next. There is a hook, as you have seen. The stair doesn't touch, it's being nailed. And because the wall is also very rough and it's not very flat. It means the stair just it's separate from and it helps to have this sense of flotation. Next. Is a Captain Hook holder. There was a window that used to be one of the main entrances during the Jewish period. There is another one here. It means both were used as anyway. Where there are, this is a ventilation for the heating with fragments of a stone that they look like. Next. I don't know how to say. Well, this is the door of the neighbors. It means it's a very close. The facades are just, you can almost touch the neighbor if you want. This is the way how the stair, because we wanted the stair to move just at the center of the arch, just to receive the people from the main door. There is no need for a handrail here, but at least it's a private house and you can take some advantages of this. It's not a public building. Anyway, next. There are some. This is a place where you can reflect light. There is like a bath curtain. Those are the bridges that connects, one connects the new room, and the other one connects the elevator last stop next. This is the bathroom for furniture. This is, don't forget, this is 4 meters and a half. We just made it in a space. It's very difficult to place window frames on top of these Gothic pieces. Means it's impossible, and that's what we decided is to avoid this thing. Just forget this, make this to belong to the facade of the other building, and it's like a window of a museum where you forget that this is only a piece of history, and you can enter it, but the space that you can use inside is this. It's from the glass. Next. This is the next level again. This is the kitchen where some sliding doors. Again, the same system. The windows are different. So all the stuccos from 14th century were restored, and they remain like pieces of, let's call, art. And there's some samples of the system of how they were building this one specific wall, because the archaeologists they were saying that it was a very significant piece, and we left it that way. Next. Then the stair that comes from here, it's a very normal stair, arriving at that point, this is the dining room again, then goes up that direction to fit or to meet the living room, which is in the upper level. Next. This is the way how you cross above the dining room. You can see the facade of the other building. Well, as you imagine, the patio helps a lot the light of the house, because the light from the street it's almost nothing. Next. This is the living room. Next. This is the connection with this before. I don't have any picture of the recent with the finish work, but it looks better. This is the window that we wanted a window, but we needed a window, but there is a very normal rectangular window, but at the end we just introduced this pattern to help the presence in a different way than what was expected. Next. And this is the neighborhood. I mean, this is how the roofs of the city are full of Barcelona. As you can see the plan, it's very organized with those lofts of 100 by 100, but on top it's full of pigeons, houses, chickens, but everything is there. It's like a whoa, but it's another city, and it's very beautiful, just the light what happens on top of the roof. Next. And this is the extension, and this is finally the top where the client can see the cathedral. This is now an official building. All the stuccos were designed to fit the same quality, and now they are remodeling this building, and it's going to be a glass facade, and this thing is going to become completely isolated. While we were trying to get diffused completely with the inside of the townscape. Next, please. This is a work in Toledo that, while the one I was showing in Barcelona it took us 4 years of construction. That one was done in 1 year, and it's a much bigger project. This is Toledo. It's a medieval city. As you can see, this is the Tajo River that surrounds and protects the city. It's a walled city with walls from 12th century. It's very dense and very difficult to use. It's a city that's been abandoned, in a way abandoned, for a new city outside. This is the river again. And there is a plan to reorganize the historical center and try to bring some life inside. It means a lot of functionaries have been introduced here. Just let's say the local government of Castilla-La Mancha, but most of those big buildings are convents, nuns, and most of nuns. The aristocracy of the 16th century were sending their elder daughters here. Now every nun at least has 1,000 square meters for each one. It means they are having empty, and it's getting empty everything. It means the problem is the cars. Nobody has. It's very difficult. No parking, no streets to allow traffic, and it's been at least 40% of the population is being moved outside. And they are organized now. There is a new parking space here, and we were asked to design a parking space, a parking garage underground, and to help the people to move into the city, and a set of escalators to a system, a mechanical system to move people up to 40 meters from the lower part. You arrive from Madrid. This is the road from Madrid. This is the area we have been working. There is another one here, who's got here. Here, who's being designed now by Rafael Moneo, and this was were commissioned by the person who ran the project of the city, who's Busquets from Barcelona. This is a slope. This is the medieval wall, and it's in a slope filled up with remains. That means everything has been jumped there, and the soil, the real rock, it's 30 meters below this garden. Next, please. And we were asked to come from this level up to this other one, even if this is one of the ugliest buildings of the city. And even this is those are the walls, the medieval walls. They look like, probably many of you remember Samuel Bronston built cities built for the movies El Cid Campeador, or anyway, it's even worse, this thing, than what he was doing for the movie. This has been restored very badly. But this is a very nasty commentary anyway. I'm sorry. But we were thinking about first to introduce a vertical system like elevators. It's 40 meters from here to here. But this is a very complicated system, because you normally enter, you need to go through a tunnel, and that's dark, insecure. Even if it would be very secure, it means people feel completely unhappy just being inside of one of them, even if we were introducing some skylights. And finally, after some visits to Italian cities, Urbino, and I don't remember which other one they were visiting, they decided it was much easier just to design a set of escalators. Next, please. And we start to organize a system of escalators and ramps to, I think this is upside down, but anyway, and start to cover the escalators with a little roof. Next. Finally, we came with this section. There is one escalator to go up and one to go down, and a normal stair to move people when they don't work. But from the beginning, it was immediately found that the escalators need to be on a different position to avoid problems when you walk down. It's like to go onto the tube in London and have a set of 6 escalators, one after the other. You will feel absolutely sick just looking at this endless. And we decided to move this thing. And that was a trick that works very well to organize what has happened later. I mean, we work. The parking space is here. The parking garage. That finally we designed it, but it was not. We didn't control at the end, and we have forgot what has happened there. And we were crossing underneath the medieval walls to avoid any problem with the historians and the archaeologists. It's a very old city. It's a difficult city to introduce new things. We're still being very surprised that there hasn't been any problem with this project, because I think it's because it's very useful. Next. Finally, we came with this solution. This is the parking with the ramps, but everything is hidden. And then we were crossing underneath the wall, and there was a very big opening, like a huge courtyard, with a normal stair that goes to this point, which the street runs from here down to here, and those are the 6 escalators. This is the building, the ugly building, and this is the solution. That's a detail of the construction, where the mountain, it's on top of this inclined cantilever that it's 6 meters long. I mean, it follows in a way, or that is like the mountain has been moved up a little bit to allow a huge opening here from where you can see the landscape while you go up and down. Next. This you can see, and even this thing has been unexpectedly happy. This is the space here, and this is the way how we were entering underneath the, well, it is a little different from what happens at the end. Next. This is the construction, where you can see the pilots going 30 meters down. It's been a very, all this earth, it's very soft and it's very complicated. Next. And this is during construction. I think it looks even better than now. But we haven't. We were asked to design the garden, but we didn't want. Just we designed it, but we didn't want to change it. I mean, we like to keep this rough grass and let's say a little bit dirt, just to avoid a cute garden. I think there are some plants. I don't even remember which ones. This is the way how you enter. This is the entrance again. Next. And this is immediately because we wanted the narrowest tunnel across underneath the walls. Next. Well, it's very easy to see. It means there is no. The color is the color of the brick of Toledo. Toledo has this yellow, well, sienna color brick, and we said that at least it should have the same quality, and in that way it will fit with the other buildings. This is when you enter, immediately you find the stairs going up and the first escalator. Next. The hall, the walls, the new city, and this is the landscape garden that we have designed. Next please. And this is a corridor that connects. You can take the elevator, or the escalator, and then connects with the other stairs. Next. It's a huge collector of water. I mean, the water at the end runs into this gutter here. And that's the way how the escalators moves. Next. This is the top. We are not very happy with those poles, but anyway, it was impossible to change it when we realized it was not good. This is the last moment where you have this huge balcony towards the plane of the river. Next. And then there are some, by night, quite late, they close and they have those fences or sliding doors, or sliding gates. They follow the shapes of some parts of the concrete. Next. That's the way how. Next. And at the end, it becomes this thing that always we say to the politicians, that it's a wooden on the landscape, but at least it's illuminated wooden. Means they feel anyway. I'm going to show very fast the 4 next things. I think it's the last slide, I guess, of the carousel, right? Yeah. Can you put the other?
No, it's not.
It's not?
No.
Let's go to the next one. Yeah. Oh, okay. This is an exhibition that I know that's cool. You do a lot of. You make a lot of things, and we also make things in our office. That was an exhibition related with the skylight. I did my PhD on the skylights, and finally some friends wanted to invite us to design something for their gallery. And with the people of our office, I have 2 people here from my office by chance today, we did this thing. There were 11 boxes, and where some light was coming from outside, and then there were little holes where you can look inside to see the effects of the light outside, the skylight. And then the light was changing, and there was light inside of the boxes, and you could see the effect of the glass and the objects that were producing the skylight inside. What was the effect of the, let's say, the city that was a remembered city? There was one of liquid light, crystal light, heaven's light, solid light, stars, tubes light, I don't know, heads light. Let's see. This is how there were cardboard boxes, and most of the objects were junk, just found it on the flea market and from family, from aunts, from friends. Everybody was bringing things, and we selected all the objects in the gallery, and finally we start to group them together, and we find that we were able to be organized in these different 11 groups that were not exactly the same that I was thinking when we started trying to be related with the PhD chapters. Next. There was a little stair also to go up and see the roofs. Well, that was the nets, like, you know, the Arab nets of the hammams or of Guarini or anyway, Vitone. I don't know how many architects that has produced things that are related with these nets. Anyway, let's see. It was just next. Hats. It was the crystal one with bottles of beer and perfumes, and those were the holes. Also, you could put your head inside, just moving these little round things. Next. There was during the day, then you could look inside and see the effects of the skylights, and there was the effect. This is the same picture. Next. Depending on where the exhibition was set up, there were the effects of what the light from the inside was producing, were a lot of things. This is when the light is inside of the boxes. It's supposed that you should look at the outside when the light it's on inside, and you should look inside when the light is out. I mean, there were instructions to see everything. Next. This is those for big surfaces, when you repeat, like in the factories, you repeat the skylights to illuminate huge surfaces where you don't have enough light from the facades, and then you need to introduce on the fifth facade from the roof, and there were, well, sunglasses, there were, you can see it here. Next, I don't think the detail, it's not important. This was solid light, there were t-shirts, there were, well, that was again crystal light, I think. Next. That was heaven light. It was with a roof, with the stars, with the stars coming down, angels. If you remember Bernini's Santa Teresa, this kind of spaghetti. Well, it's kind of, remember this. They were coming down like fragments of rays from heaven. Next. Heads with holes. That was a war head or from some friends that was inside the hairs, and even, well, those things. We had fun, believe me. Next. Because we really invented everything there. Just the effects of the tubes, and I don't know where else, the nets. Next. And even the stars. At the end, you can see how they were made of. And those were the hammams and the screens and Indian and Arab atmospheres. Next. And this is another. How much time do I have? This is the last thing we did last year, who was a set for a theater piece. It's a monologue of Molly Bloom by the fragment of Ulysses from Joyce. It was written by a Spanish writer, and a friend of mine, an actress, saw the exhibition. He asked us to design the set. It was almost, I think that the whole thing was 1,000 pounds. The whole thing, just next. It's a monologue that happens. I mean, it was nothing. It was just that thing of floating Macintosh. We did this thing we were going through different pictures of Dublin houses and bedrooms, etc. Next, I think this is well, a few more. Yeah, can we have the coming things are just projects. I'm sorry because I'm going to go very fast with this. The first thing, it's a competition that we did in Barcelona that we lose. I don't really like to show this thing, but it's the it's a competition that I think absolutely fair. Vic Miralles and Benedetta Tadabue won. We were both finalists, and I think the building that I hope they're going to build the building, or Benedetta want to build it, because I think it's one of it's a period in Barcelona that probably to have this Vic Miralles building will be absolutely fascinating. Well, the only thing we did was just to look at some skyscraper, if we can call this a skyscraper, it's 22 stories high. At least we have 2 in Barcelona now. We will have more. And we decided, it wasn't a very strange position, and we decided to look at those buildings we like the CBS by Aerosarin and other normal skyscrapers with windows. And we decided in Barcelona it would be better to have windows. And every window was, well, every facade had a different size of window. But what we did was to shift, we cut every corner was different. And the ground floor starts here and ends, in a normal corner. On the top, starts here and ends, well, it produces a very strange effect. Sometimes you see the building thicker, sometimes it's very unstable. We didn't want this building to happen there, and we finally did something unstable, as unstable that we lose. And anyway, next. It's just, I'm sorry, I think it just sometimes we see it bigger from the top, thinner from the ground. Next. Well, it was a red Indian stone, and the top was the equipment was here. It was the office of the next. Oh, well, I don't think this is okay. This is the final thing. This is a project that is waiting to be built with a spa in the city of Gijón in the north of Spain, where there have tides of 3 meters, and we had a fantastic location. The city is waiting to find money, and we are waiting. There are only sketches. That means this is only a sketch project that came through drawings and through a model. Next. It's a charcoal city. You know, when I'm saying charcoal, it means it was the main regions of the city came because there were quarries of charcoal and factories of steel. And this is on the bay. We were organizing this strange temple on the other side. And next. Well, we came that way. We designed this. Then we came with the model. And it was a kind of a temple of water where you can swim and then you can go outside. And it's like one of those pleasure things with salt water. It's called thalassoterapia. And then the whole activity of the small spaces were surrounding this area with sand. And it was this piece of rock that we wanted to be similar to the ones we were finding on the, well, not finding, but at least we were looking at the sand and the rocks that were there. We wanted something dark floating on top of this white sky. Next. Here's the building. This is the plan, if we can call it plan, but anyway, from here to here it was not, that's the level. I don't know if it's going to happen. It's too wild. Next. For you have been seeing on the, and there were tubes of structural tubes for elevators, for stairs, for air conditioning, and this huge chapel that closes like a twisted temple, because in the other side of the bay there used to be a Roman thermos, and I think this is the opposite point of the bay. Next. We find those pictures at the end, means I think the cranes of the port, the most beautiful building by Gaudi, the chapel in the colonial way. They are things that you find and you think, well, it looks like this. I think they probably will like it. Next. Well, I'm sorry, this is a house under construction. Sorry, let's go. It's a very complicated house. It looks like a little bit of the plan of the Casa Mila. I'm saying this because normally we don't look at things and we find our solution. It's the opposite. I think I remember some other architects doing this, just saying, well, I found this thing, and then you find your memory printed somewhere else. Next. It's a swimming pool, 3 floors, a quite complex house. They don't know where, they are quite happy, but they are not exactly sure about that this is the house they're going to live. Next. Even there is, the roof moves up and down, there is, this is south, there is no, 2 different levels. The views are in the other side, that means north and south at the same time, north at the same time produce the need of windows in both sides. It means it's a very narrow corridor where you hold some trees that are existing in between the corridors. Next. And this is the last thing. This is a project we have been involved for the last year and a half. This is the new area of Barcelona that's going to hope to happen in 2004. It's going to call the Forum 2004, and it's a huge area where even the water is being filled. This is the actual, the limit of the water, and now they are filling up this area to introduce this new port, and there will be, at least there are 30 projects that came through competitions, and it's the end of the diagonal, and here there will be high rises here, 100 meters high, 30 floors, and a hotel by Tusquets, an office building by Clotet, another hotel by Massip, a university building by Bru, groups of houses by young architects, at least 10. This is the Forum building by Herzog and de Meuron. This is a convention center by Matteo. This is by Vinny Mas and his partners. This is the zoo by many people, Carlos Muro, and this is Alejandro Zaira and his wife, and a park. This is, just as you can imagine, it's a huge melting pot. And we won the competition for this, who is the whole area of this esplanade. It's 14 hectares, 140,000 square meters. Next. This is our site. It means we have designed the roof of the water treatment plant. The water treatment plant is under construction. That means that when they finish the construction until this area, this is one of the final things. We were just opening this space because the time was short, and we decided to make this wider space and allow, because it's a very strange area where there is the water treatment plant, the trash treatment, then 2 factories, electricity of power stations. Anyway, it's a very strange area that's going to be connected with this luxurious context of and symbolic activity of the city. We are on top. We redesigned many of the ends of those fingers. We designed a new one here to connect with the bridge. This is another young couple who's designing a bridge on top of the port. And we decided to, well, all this hand has been part of our project. Next. It's moving constantly because the money, because the time, and there is, it goes from 4 meters above to 17, and then within a slope of 2% descends towards the water with this, well, it's like cliffs on top of the port where you can see, you have grass, you have most of the pavement is asphalt because it needs to be very, very easy to replace if there is any. And this is the whole. And there is one element that used to be 4 hectares, 40,000 square meters, which is a photovoltaic cell plant, and now has ended to be only 10,000 square meters. But the height of this thing, which is already changed, it changes yesterday, it's 60 meters. That means it's a huge thing. From here to here, it's 800 meters. It's almost 1 kilometer. Those are the high rises, Herzog and the Meron building, which is floating on top of the square, has an auditorium underneath. It's like this huge commander nave of Star Wars just moving. No, and it's very dark. I think it's going to be a very beautiful building. Next. Those are the lights. Just if you need a lot of activities that you know exactly what's going to happen, we decided to design those huge chariots like the ones that were on the Wild West, that you can move around the square and put it anywhere you like. It means this is 12 meters high, well, 12 meters long and 6 meters high. So this is the table that supports this is the size of people. Next. At the end we have probably, we are changing these, a new pergola will come here. Means that's a picture that I took last night. And this is the end of the diagonal, and that's it. Next. And this is the plan of the pavement. It's a patchwork of different colors of asphalt. And it will be easy to, well, the colors have been changed a little bit because we have already samples, and this is grass. And to avoid anything perfect, we want to just, if there is any mistake, they can replace a piece of another color, and they will introduce more excitement, even if there are mistakes. And this is a design for, we change the scale constantly, and this is a design for a glass bottle to celebrate Elizabeth II Spain last century. The canal of water, there is a name in Madrid of the supply of water, and this is Elizabeth I, Elizabeth II, and that's, thank you very much. This is good.
Elias will take some questions. Maybe those people who wish to leave could do so quickly.
It's very late.
By Spanish standards, it's like afternoon tea time.
It's okay for me, but people is leaving.
Yeah, but always we have some people who leave and others who stay. Don't worry. Maybe while people are leaving, I could get you to say a few words about this last project, because it seems that in terms of the urban approach, it's in some ways still kind of reminiscent of the world fairs or the idea of the projects from the 70s where you would have many architects who make this kind of patchwork. I'm just wondering, in the context of the earlier projects that you've done yourself, where there's been a lot of emphasis on landscape in relation to urban development and so on, whether you can speculate about an alternative approach to urbanism than this idea of getting, let's say, a single building or a single project by different architects.
Mohsen, I think it's a very difficult space in the city. I'm saying the whole thing together. It's when the diagonal street it's being lost. It just loses its shape and it arrives like a stain towards the ocean. The end of the diagonal is the water. This is an absolutely, because we were thinking about many different ways of ending this thing, and finally we thought that the water was the last thing to find. But if you think about the city of Barcelona, where you are always completely surrounded and protected and you know that your moves are always being seen and adjusted to something else that happens. Here, it's a little more difficult to find this. If you compare the little house we were renovating in the core of the city and what it's here, it's the same city, and we have the same way of thinking. An instant, we didn't find how to handle all those things. Our projects in general about landscape or an open spaces have been much more clear in a way that were fragments isolated, surrounded by a perfect and precise limit. But this one, the limit is not clear, and this is the interesting thing of the project, because we need to deal with 13 different projects at the same time. Means we cannot do anything without the presence of the others. Means everybody that we have underneath, there are 4 different projects, or 4 different architects, we need to deal with them. At the level of the surface we have 7 more, and we need to talk to all of them to adjust different levels.
But I didn't mean the question specifically to do with your project. I'm saying in the context of, let's say, the earlier projects in Barcelona, the ones that I know we had a few years ago, Olga Tarasso here, we were looking at the question of the edge of the city and so on. I'm wondering whether you have, in the context of what you're saying about having to negotiate with everybody, for example, what do you think is the possibility of a master plan where it's not this idea of negotiation, or a project where it's not the idea of necessarily a single master plan? So I would like you to speak a little bit more about the overall, as an alternative approach to the current method of for example,
there was a master plan by Miralles, by Mateo, and by Bru, but I think it's so new thing. And it's not subjected to anything. It means everything can move, and that's why there is no one precise position to anyone.
Right.
I think now the buildings are much more clear. Everybody has a lot, has a limit, and they are much better organized. In terms of let's say open space, I think always an open space needs to negotiate with many things, always, because. The flat surface against vertical things it's always a dialogue that needs to happen, and I think we feel a little uncomfortable, but we know that this is the only way is to produce this. We don't know how it's going to finish. We don't know how the pergola will be. Yesterday there was a new thing happening because the mayor and a new commission were asking for new activities, and we need to be able, and even any open space, it's challenged constantly about new activities that will happen there. A building doesn't. In general, it accepts its own structure, but an open space is just where the city really happens, and that's why I think this is a new way of doing this thing. But and the city is going to be weird and strange in that area, but I think at least we try to hold everything and to produce the base for all those things that surrounds the project.
Who would like to ask Elias a question? Otherwise, I'll have to keep asking questions.
No question.
It was fantastically clear, obviously. You don't have to go. We don't let you go.
Oh.
No, I'm sure they'll ask questions.
There's one there.
Yeah, please, go ahead. Can you take the mic?
I'm just curious about a lot of your work seems to be very clearly engaging with the landscape. Is there other kind of projects that you would like to be involved with? You've done such a range of projects. Is there something that you have an ambition for?
Well, you talk about landscape projects in general.
I just wondered what would be your ambition for your next project?
Ambition, it depends on the next phone call. I'm sorry, but...
No, but apart from the influence, he says that the influence of landscape is very clear. What other influences or other possibilities?
No, I don't know, because believe me, that it's all that thing about landscape, it's been just by chance. And we have done a lot of things, but by chance. And when I hear someone just calling us to design something on a landscape, I'm a little afraid, because we don't want to be a specialist. We just feel that we can do anything, or we like to do anything, because it's a problem of dealing with the world, I would say. In the world, it's very complex, and every problem is interesting. It depends on how much you focus. And I don't know. Believe me, that we are completely open about unexpected things. That's what we like. If it's something expected, I think it loses all its power.
What about the question of different ways of building in the city and building in places that are not quite urban? For example, you didn't show any of your housing, the earlier projects in Barcelona, where the housing projects are very much, they have a kind of regularity and an order which seems to respond to a certain urban condition. Then when we see the house that you're designing now for the client and so on, that sort of regularity is not present. What about this difference?
We have two faces, believe me, and sometimes we show one, sometimes we show the other. But it's not because we want. Just sometimes we think that we produce a lot of conflicts. This house is a conflict. This is the 5th project, and it's been on the office for 6 years. I think if it was a box, it would be already finished, and we're living already there. But I don't know, sometimes we are just hesitating. That means you have this sense of helping and producing things that are, useful, and you know that there are ways very easy. And you find that let's try this way to make sure that we can investigate also on a very sober process. Sometimes we feel wild, and this house is wild because we didn't know how to locate the house in the landscape. Sometimes you find you can grab your hands into the land, and it's easy to decide which lines, which elements will help you to produce your landing there. Sometimes you don't, and in that case it's a very strange topography that the house is in the middle of 2 huge trapezoidal shapes, and at the end this hesitation is being reflected exactly on the facade. While when I was showing the project of the gas tower, we also felt a little uncomfortable. It was just only a sign of this hesitation. But at the end the building was very, we can call conventional. But it was conventional with this way of looking at it and the different, I mean, it depends. And believe me that I prefer not to know what's going to be my next or our next move. If not, it will be very boring, at least for us. That's right.
Do we have the mic? Can we get it here?
Yeah.
About the...
thing is, we're taping this, so if somebody listens to it tomorrow, they won't hear your question.
About the experiments you did with light and the cardboard, would you be interested in use them in a larger scale, maybe, some of them?
Well,
have you discovered something there?
No, yeah, we have discovered, because when you play, you discover. But in general, I say that we have worked in our work we have experimented a lot of small things with the skylight. I think it's a very intriguing and very architectural light, really the light inside. Well, a professor of the School of Barcelona, Pep Kikles, who is a friend, he's an historian, he said that on a text about the light, that's saying that the dark is discovered the light is discovered inside, the dark is discovered outside. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the thing, you work with light, and there is with the skylight you don't have any condition about views, you don't have any condition of to be related with the outside. Well, immediately the skylight produces this strange effect of being isolated, of being underground, on a basement, and immediately just architecture becomes this magic and strange apparatus that you can deal with light. This is. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry, I'm not answering the question.
No, it's all right. You're as he's always resisting. It was interesting what you were saying about building in Japan, where the Japanese were thinking that they had imported the contemporary Gaudi.
No, and that was a joke.
I know,
Friends,
but it is true that there is a certain sort of anyway, reference that's made in terms of what is the current condition of Spanish architecture.
Well,
I'm just wondering whether you
Just, I don't know why I have mentioned Gaudi, because this is the Gaudi year in Barcelona, and you know that he's going to become a saint.
yes, I know.
And I think we are tired because about Gaudi. We have Gaudi everywhere, in every newspaper, everywhere. And not every Gaudi building is a good building, and I think. But always when you work in Japan, let me answer your question.
I
They
was going
always
to ask you a
ask
different
you.
question.
Okay.
Anyway, just tell us.
Well, anyway, I'm going to answer you.
Yeah, go,
first.
okay.
Then we were always asked by the clients if we could bring some of our atmosphere from air from Spain. We probably gave them something, but it was so strange to us that we felt so free there, and we wanted also to build something in the context. I mean, it's very difficult to put in a box something that you give to somebody else who is 10,000 kilometers away. I think it's better to go there, to look at what is there, and then try to establish a dialogue or a conversation of this place. And that's what we were trying to do, even if we can avoid what we were carrying in our bags from Spain.
Mm-hmm.
But we were trying to do something different, and I think we did.
Mm-hmm. Sure. No, but what I was going to ask you along those lines, slightly different thing, was that let's say 15 or 20 years ago, there was obviously a clear attempt to try and say the architecture that comes out of Spain is very particular, and it has to do with understanding of the location and region and all of that. And I think the last 20 years have proved the fact that that's not quite the story in a way, and that there is such an incredible diversity, to the point where I think it's now quite difficult to try and find, in a sense, very specific tendencies that are not shared by a number of other countries and architects in different places. I'm wondering whether there are, however, issues or tendencies that are being developed in Spain that you think are particularly interesting or you find significant.
Perverse question. Anyway, let's say
Why?
because the heroic times are gone in Spain.
No, but it's not a question of.
Yeah.
But it's not a question
it's
of
a question
heroism.
about this. I tell you why. I'm answering exactly that way because 25 years ago, when democracy starts, I think there was I would say, ignorance, enthusiasm, and desire, money, and some very few people commissioned directly to the architects the transformation of or renovation of monuments, schools, hospitals. Everything was just boiling there. And for so many years, the country was, let's say, hidden and silent. Very few people were doing things, and immediately was this explosion of enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. And I think all this opening helps a lot of this new, let's say, way and attitude towards work. Mm-hmm. And many things were happening, and at that time, probably you don't find the whole thing that has been built in those years, it's not extraordinary, but at least there is a period that shows exactly what was happening in the society of our country. I think now the commissions comes through competitions. There is no way to have a direct commission. It is under the law. It's against the law. And I think the country is more rich. It's more secure. And security, it's again adventure. Security, it's again, I don't know, just unexpected things. Everybody wants to be sure about construction, security, insurance companies, everything. It's going everywhere. And we have been like the other countries. We have become a very mature country. And we produce what is possible, with a more average architecture, I would say more conservative. The average is good. I would say it's good. There is no sparkling moments, but I would say that it's a very respectful architecture. There is always a period for every country. We had Holland a few years ago. I don't know, it's going to be China the next one. Who knows? But let's say that we had already our 10 years of success. And that's what has happened. I don't think the architecture in Spain, I would say it's very responsible. I think the professionals are trained in a way to become people who, as much as possible in the schools, to become persons that at least are socially responsible for their work, cultivated as much as possible, and the production probably it's not this sparkling as you were expecting, but at least I think it produces this serenity sometimes that probably, and at the end it's depending on personal attitudes than nothing else. I think even Barcelona, who is a city that everybody admires, if you go there and you look at the architecture of the 80s, it's not extraordinary. It's just that the only thing it's good is just the attitude, how the city was developing its growth. Do I answer it?
Yeah, but I'm wondering why you thought it was, why you don't think that when you have a period of conservatism and there is certain level of comfort, that that's also not the moment when there is the possibility of certain unexpected things, precisely because you do have certain possibilities of construction. You do have the idea in terms of the education to be different than what it has been and so on, because precisely from that conservatism comes the possibility of certain things that are not necessarily heroic, but there are new trends or new directions which might be just the beginnings of an alternative mode of thinking and strategy, rather than thinking that, you know, it's gone through a period and now our heroic period is finished and now that's the thing that keeps shifting. Because
well, in Spain you will find what you will find everywhere. I think I don't think now specifically a territory means a specific architecture. It means that everybody, you see everything the same things. I think young people, it's always very brave, and because they need to
be brave.
And I think they need to be brave, and they need to be responsible and brave, and they need to escape from the rules, and they need to be completely in control, as much as they control everything.
That's why I'm asking you this question, because you're the one who's also always escaping from certain kind of rules and conventions.
Well, they don't allow me every day. Okay. No, we try, but that's a way of surviving.
Would anybody else like to? I feel I've been having the conversation. Monica, are you going to? Chris, you have the last word then. Do you have the mic or?
No, he doesn't need it.
Can you?
You talk about responsibility. You seem to be very responsible historically. Do you feel that you're one of the only people in Spain really being responsible historically? I know you're very sensitive to the history. You talk about the sort of post-Franco era, sort of trying to maybe get back sort of before. And I guess a lot of your projects are in terms of conservation. But do you feel you're the only person really?
No, at all. No. When I was talking about responsibility, I was probably talking from teaching to practice. I think this world of amateur to professional, and you should be responsible always, but at the same time, and become a very good professional. But you should keep as much as you can the territory of the amateur, where the amateur comes from amar, who means loving someone, the things you do. And as much you can combine both things, that it's this territory where you can find unexpected, again, things that will happen. And at the same time, you know the tools to use to produce those unexpected ideas and change them to build things or finish things. I think this is what, personally, I would like to teach in the schools or and the way how we like to practice. And it's not very easy, because as much older you get, more difficulties you have to find the unexpected. Thank you.
Well, I hope you keep finding it. Thanks.
Bye.